Fine. So let's start. Basically, it's a software development process. Basically, we use it in software development practices. It's a conceptual framework for software engineering, and it promotes development iterations throughout the life cycle. So what we usually do is we create iterations of all your projects. Say, for example, you have been given to create a school management project. What we usually do is we try to break this requirement into smaller tasks, smaller features, and based on the specific requirements of your client, we convert everything into smaller iterations to make sure that people understand, and you give regular delivery to the client. And the reason why Agile came into existence, it's not that what still being used. It is then in the problem with the waterfall method is that the problem which has been given to you, or rather the project which has been assigned to you, in most of the cases what usually happens is you don't even know whether this project is going to excel or not, and that situation comes when you are almost nearing your deadline, and the client has already invested bunch of amount of money in your project. So to come out of those situations, your Agile came into existence. The main difference what it made was it said, rather than planning for 6 months in advance, what we'll do is we'll plan for 1 or 2 iterations. Now these iterations we'll come in further detail in few minutes from now. What I actually mean by iterations. So at present, you just understand that iterations means it may be a 1 month iteration or a 1 week iteration. But the whole idea of iteration is that once you run one iteration, at the end of that, there should be some value addition to the client. So he should get, after one iteration is done, he should at least get something from you in terms of a working software. So with Agile, we usually emphasize on getting a working software, be it only 5% of what the actual requirement is, but at least that 5% is a working solution to the client. He should see that thing working in front of him on his maybe on his laptop or maybe on his mobile device and anything, but he should see something which is working in front of him. And so when we say Agile, we there are many myths which people usually say that we are going to give you early value and that. So it is that, and the reason why we usually say is because in traditional processes, what we usually see is that the first step is your analysis phase, where you do all your analysis and all. The second is your design phase, where you'll be doing all your DB structure design, your architectural designings and all. And once these two steps are completed, then starts your coding phase. And once the coding is done, then your testing phase starts. So by the time you reach the testing phase, most of the time has already lost. And consider a situation when in the testing phase, you come to know that the product which you have built is outdated in the market. Somebody has already captured your market, and the product which you will be launching is already out of date now. So what is the use of that product? Now, if you had built that particular product using Agile process only, so all your processes would have been gone parallelly, like your analysis phase, your design phase, your coding phase, your testing phase. Everything goes parallel to each other. There's no specific phase in Agile which says that we are going to run one analysis phase, then one design phase, then one coding phase, and then finally the testing phase. So everything happens parallelly, and it is because of this that the moment you complete your first iteration, you have almost built 20% of your final product, and your client would be able to see that. They would see that, okay, my aim was to get a school management system made. So I have my initial version ready. Your initial version, maybe, you have all your authentication system ready. Yeah, you can sign up application based on students or teachers or parents, or maybe a bunch of other roles which are available in school. And consider this with and comparing this with the normal traditional thing. The moment you enter the testing phase and you start testing your application, then you come to know that, okay, I'm finding some bugs, or leave behind bugs. There are some features which requires refinements. So what you have to return back to your analysis phase from testing phase, and from the analysis, all your different phases starts again, like the analysis, and then the final design, and then the coding, and then again the testing. So it involves a huge amount of time and money. And to get that thing down, Agile has taken over this process. But having said that, people say that in Agile we are delivering very quickly. It's not that. We actually don't deliver quickly. What we usually do is we give them, we add some value to them. We usually don't say that we are giving you a bunch of features. We usually say that we are going to add a value to what you have given us. So because at the end of the day, if the client is paying you something, he needs a value addition to it. He needs to see what is the value addition which that amount which has been spent on a particular project is being done. So in that case, we what we usually do is we try to fix the scope of the project as much as possible, so that the moment the developers start working on the specific set of features or tasks, everything should be fixed. It should not be that today I'm building the authentication system. Tomorrow it is said that leave that, let's build on something else. Let's get on maybe an Android app or an iOS app. So all those stuff is not it is always advisable not to do that in Agile. Always try to get the scope fixed as much as possible. So, and because the moment you keep your the complete process is fixed, it will be helpful for you to give a timely and a quality delivery to your client. Now, what are the projects which are agile? Now, when we say agile and Scrum, it is not necessary that all the projects are very suitable for agile. It's not the case. Agile is best suited for those projects which have aggressive deadlines, which have a high degree of complexity and a high degree of uniqueness in them. Like, for example, if you are building the same thing over and over again, so you have actually mastered we can say is nuisances, so you don't even need an agile, because you are constantly what you are doing is you are rebuilding each and everything again and again. So in that case, you don't even need an agile. Now, urgency. Now, time boxing is one thing which agile always focuses on. So you need to keep your iterations well in time. It's not that every now and then you are not able to meet even your own timelines. So that again is that type of project is again not suitable for. Okay, so I have a question by Naveen. He says support projects and activities doesn't need agile. It's not the case. I have seen many support projects who work well with agile, and in fact, agile can be best suited for support projects as well. It's not that it is not suitable. It's just you need to find out a way how this can be best implemented. Because the way whenever we say agile and Scrum, or whenever we want to transform to agile and Scrum, the first question which we should ask ourselves is my project capable of adopting agile or not? This is the first and foremost question which should be asked. And that is the reason I said that, not all projects are suitable for agile. If we like, for the production industry, mainly, we don't recommend, agile. Uh, there is a different form of agile which is used there. So we use Kanban there, which is a different form of, expressing things, expressing your products and all. But in terms of support projects, yes, you can go for agile. Maybe not along with Scrum. You can use Kanban for, which is an alternative of Scrum. Um, Scrum will just come within few minutes from now. So so you'll come to know what exactly the Scrum is. But since the question came up now, so I'm just answering this. That for support projects, agile is good, and along with that, you can add a top up of Kanban to it. Where so Kanban is a visualization board where you visualize all your support tickets which usually come. Naveen, I hope your question is answered. Okay, next is agile umbrella. So agile is something which is okay. That's good. So agile is something which has adopted things from many other, or rather you can say that agile is a stuff which is a very generalized way of expressing of following your projects and all. There are a bunch of add-ons which you can add to it. The two most famous add-ons is Scrum and Kanban, and there are a bunch of others. Like we have XP, which is Extreme Programming, then we have Crystal, then we have DSDM, then we have FDD, then we have RUP. So there are many others which you can use along with Agile. Agile is the generalized word. Along with that, you can add Scrum to it, which is the most common combination in the software industry today. If Scrum is not suitable for you, or maybe for specific for the production industry, or for the supporting tickets like we have for services industry as well, you can add Agile with Kanban, because Scrum, whenever you add Scrum to Agile, you have very strict deadlines to it. The time boxing gets very fixed. You need to do each and every stuff in those timelines only. And generally in services industry, where you are actually doing production support and all, in those cases we usually are not able to predict how much time that particular ticket is going to take. So in that case, we usually don't use Scrum. The recommendation is to use Kanban there. Now we have already seen what Agile is all about and all. Now Agile has come up with some manifestos, like what exactly you need to do in Agile. Like any software technologies which you see, you must be seeing some principles, you can say, which needs to be followed. So Agile also has its own manifesto which you need to always follow. And so there are 4 manifestos. The first one is individuals and interactions over process and tools. So we usually don't go for processes and go for tools in Agile. We always prefer to have individuals and interactions. We interact as much as possible. We interact with clients as much as possible to make sure that our we have the clarity of the feature on which we are working. We have the clarity on the product which we are working. We have clarity on the business use case of the product on which we are going to work. So we always stress on having interactions as much as possible, rather than having an amount of processes and an amount of tools which are of no use at the end of the day, if they are not giving you some value in return. Next, we have working software over comprehensive documentation. Now if you take your normal waterfall model, we usually keep on building comprehensive documentation. We build first is your project documentation, then we have all sorts of DB design, and a bunch of big documentations are there. But at the end of the day, if your project is not able to deliver the business case which it should have been, then that documentation is of no use. So in Agile, we usually say that my stress is on working software. So having said that, it's not so this Agile manifesto is actually divided into two parts: the right hand side and the left hand side. So right hand side are coming from your traditional model, and left hand side is coming from the Agile. So it's not that when I say that I'm focusing on working software rather than comprehensive documentation, I'm not saying that Agile does not have any documentation. It does have. There are some basic level of documentation which you still require, but we usually say that we always prefer the items which are there on the left over the items which are listed on the right. And we also don't say or recommend that you need to completely neglect each and everything which is listed on your right hand side. Like we don't say that we are not going to build any documentation, we are not going to have any process, we are not going to have any tools. It's not that. We always give a preference over it. Now, the third manifesto is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, if there are any, people who are from project management side, most of them might have seen that the moment a project comes, you are being asked to give a quotation, and then you draft basically a contract which has some figure in it, and then you keep on negotiating that figure with the client, and in most of the cases what happens is the client says that okay, this is this is going over budget, I'm not going to work on this anymore. Usually in Agile we simply say that the customer is going to collaborate with us as much as possible. At every step, at every stage, customer is going to interact with us. We are going to come back to that customer as and when required, or rather on a daily basis. In most of the cases it happens on a daily basis. We usually the clients are always available, and if you are collaborating with your client very often, they feel that they are being valued for the amount of money which they are spending on you. That is one of the biggest advantage of using Agile, and that helps your client also to understand that okay, this team is giving me some value, so this team is going to the more questions basically which you ask them, the more refined your product becomes. And then the last point is responding to change over following a plan. So consider a situation where you say that okay, your project manager says we have a plan for next 6 months, and the very next day your three of your developers fall sick. They have been admitted to a hospital. They'll not be able to come to office for the next 2 months maybe. What is the use of that 6 months plan when you don't even know what is going to happen the very next day? So what we usually do in Agile is, rather than creating a plan for the next 6 months, we usually respond to change. Now this change can be, maybe you are working on a feature and your client comes and say that okay, I just did a small market research, and in that research I found out that the feature which we are trying to build as of now, let's do some tweak in it, so that the moment when we enter the market, we at least have the latest trend which is there in the market today. And that helps the client actually to always stay up to date along with whatever is happening in the market. Now if you consider the same situation with the waterfall model, there's no scope for a change, because the moment a change comes, it is always it comes with a time frame. You say that okay, this is going to delay your release, and this is going to we need to analyze it first, and the complete phase starts, which again is you'll be back again to the first step. But in Agile, everything happens parallelly, and you just respond to that change and try to adopt that change if possible, or maybe in the next iteration. Now these are the 4 Agile manifestos. So based on these 4 Agile manifestos, there are some principles which have been defined. So my first priority would be to satisfy the customer. because he's the one who's going to use the application or the product which you are trying to build. And we always welcome changing requirements, even it is late in the development, which in traditional model is not, it will not be easy. Then we have then we deliver working software very frequently. From it may be from couple of weeks to couple of months. So based on the kind of iterations which we are going to run, if it is a 1 week iteration, so we are going to deliver a working software every week, or if it is a 2 week iteration or maybe 4 week iteration. So at the end of iteration, you need to deliver something which is a working software. That is the reason why Agile says that my focus is on working software rather than creating plans and failing to it. And development teams and business work together. So in Agile, what usually happens is the development team directly interacts with the client, or maybe any single point of contact from the client side. So the development team directly interacts with them. They come to know what the who the end users are, what is the business case of building this application. So, and whenever you are doing this, whenever the development team is working with the business together, they are in the best position to develop that feature according to the business need, rather than a project manager having a one-to-one discussion with the client, and then he coming back to the team and explaining that, okay, in that case, most of the time the development team does not think that the product on which they are working on is it is a you can say the ownership kind of thing, that they don't feel that they are the owners of this particular product which they are making, which they are working on. Then build around motivated people. So this point is there because whenever you motivate and feature just delivered, they just some kind words that it's good that you have built this, or maybe my end client is very happy with the kind of progress which we are making, or the higher management is very happy with the kind of progress which you are making. So it's always helpful when you get some kind of motivation from them. Most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a team is face-to-face conversation. Now, this is not very relevant to the software industry today, because India being the biggest offshore market, and most of the product companies in India who work for clients, they are based in they are international clients. So that is ideally what Agile always says is that you sit at one geographical location along with the client. You have face-to-face conversation. That is the best possible way of conveying your stuff to the client. If it is not possible, like in our case, in our country's case, where most of the clients are international, and but yes, there are people who do get a chance to go on site and work along with them. That's the best situation. Otherwise, we usually do video calls to at least have the development team and the client at least see each other, so that they can express their stuff very easily. And next comes the primary measure of success is working software. So as I already said, that we always focus on getting a working software. Then we have the agile processes always promote sustainable development. So sustainable development, maybe the sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace. So by constant pace, I mean that say for example, you are running a 1 week iteration only. So in 1 week, you'll be dealing very small pieces of or maybe some couple of features only with the team, since the time boxing is very small, so you will not be able to deliver a bunch of features. You'll be usually delivering only a couple of features only. It is advisable to keep on, delivering that kind of projects which are there at a constant pace. And then the continuous attention to technical excellence and good design. Now, so agile teams are actually, the people who choose to be a part of agile team. Usually, we always try to find some people who have technical expertise in that technology, and who are good in design. Because even, no matter what kind of methodology you are going to use, be it traditional, be it agile, or be it any kind of other agile, agile tools, if the technical excellence is not there, if the team members do not have the correct expertise to work on the technology on which your project is working, you are bound to fail. So it is, in agile we always say that technical expertise is very important. You need to have the correct team member in your team, otherwise the team will have lack of confidence in them, and you will not be able to move ahead. Next comes the simplicity. So simplicity is the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. This is essential. Now, why this is essential is because if you are not keeping your work simple, or if you are trying to make your work complicated, it will will not, and you'll fail your deadlines and timelines which have been set. Next is the best architectures, requirements, and designs. So it that we prefer the team to become self-organizing. Now, self-organizing means that you don't need to direct them. The project manager does not. First of all, there's no word of project manager in Agile or Scrum or Kanban. We always focus on self-organizing team. There's no senior or junior there. Maybe in your designation it might be there just for all your salary purposes and all, but in a agile team, everyone is equal. Be it 3 year of experience or be it a 20 year of experience, everyone is equal. Everyone has their own job to do. You need to collectively work for your product and get the value addition to the client. So self-organizing means you are creating your architecture by yourself. Nobody is guiding you. You are taking the requirements from the client directly. You are not depending upon your project managers or somebody else who are coming and providing you all those requirements and all. So everything is being done by the complete agile team. There's nobody who is trying to put things on your head like usually the project manager does, that hey, this is the reply from the client side, and this is the work which you need to do. So in that case, the teams are not self-organizing. We have that kind of atmosphere is called a teacher-student kind of atmosphere, and that is not relevant in agile teams. Next comes the team regularly reflects on work. So whatever work which has been done, if you are constantly delivering that stuff to the client, you are actually reflecting things to to the client. Your work is reflected. You can see that you are able to add some value to the client. He can go back to his end clients, or maybe he can take his product to the market and get the real-time feedbacks from the people who are going to use it. That actually helps. Now, coming to some myths in Agile. The first myth is Agile development is undisciplined. And why undisciplined? Because we usually say that they are the self-organizing teams. So the moment you say that they are the self-organizing teams, people always say that if you are self-organized, you are not disciplined, you can do whatever you want, but that's not the case. The moment we say self-organized, it comes with a bunch of responsibilities, because you need to, it is the team who has to focus on the delivery part. They have to make sure that whatever timeline has been given to, whatever timeline which they have only chosen, maybe a 1 week iteration or a 2 week iteration, so they need to adhere to that. It's not that, since there's nobody who's standing on their head, so they can simply say that, okay, nobody is there to ask us questions, why are we going to work on this, on that. So it is not that agile development is undisciplined. It is very much disciplined, but we usually don't force anyone, or rather we don't put words in the other team members' mouth. Next myth is agile teams do not plan. So we always plan our stuff, but it's not that we are planning for next 6 months or 8 months or 10 months. We usually plan, 2 sprints, or maybe 2 iterations. And if that also is failing, you don't even need to plan for two iterations. Just plan for single iteration and start your project. Because the moment you execute your 2 or 3 iterations, you will even come to know that, okay, my planning is going good, so let's have some future planning as well. Maybe plan 2 iterations advance, or 3 iteration advance, or maybe only 1 iteration in advance, in addition to the current iteration which is being done. Next, no documentation, no matrices. This is again one of the myths which is available. Most of the people usually say that since agile does not focus on documentation, so there is no matrices which are involved. This is not true. We do document stuff. We have technical documentations in agile. We have, but those documentations are very, they are pretty straightforward. We usually prepare a documentation for the whole project. That what was the purpose of this project, what are we going to deliver to the client in this project, what are the features in this project, as simple as that. And we have different matrices also. In fact, a bunch of matrices are available in agile, through which you can see how your project is exploring, how your team is moving. So each and every matrices are already there. Fourth one is compromise in quality. So whenever you say that you are actually giving a delivery per iteration, and that iteration is just 1 week long, so most of the people say that, okay, in just 1 week, what kind of quality are you going to give? But it's not the case. We also focus on quality, because if you don't focus on quality, your product is of no use for the client. It will be full of clutter and all. So yes, we do focus on quality. We do focus on testing and all. Each and everything is there, but everything goes parallel to each other. There's no specific phase in agile, and that is the reason all these myths starts coming. Then see, the most common, which the seniors always say, that senior most people will lose their jobs. It's not the case. We still need senior people in the team. It's just that there is no project manager role over here, but they are still required, because somebody should be there which can help the team to become self-organized. And in that case, project manager role comes, but he has to adjust to some things, like he cannot direct his team to work like he wants. Usually this happens in traditional model, that my way of working is like this only, so you need to work according to me, otherwise you can be thrown off your project. Usually this is the common thing which happens, but this is against agile. So we will be having some senior members inside the team, but their role would be slightly different. Their role would be to motivate the team to become self-organized, interact with the client as much as possible. So they will actually be with the team, but at the same point of time, they will not be a part of that team. The role of those senior members would be to just be there and help the team to become self organized. Now again, six self-organized teams can do anything they want. This is not the case. Like I said earlier, that self-organizing teams come with a bunch of responsibilities on their shoulders. They need to make sure that since nobody is asking anything from them, so it's their own responsibility to get things done in the prescribed time itself, to make sure that everything is getting completed in the time frame. Otherwise, again, there's no need of agile if you are not able to accomplish that also. The last is design and architecture can be ignored. Again, this is not required. These two are one of the most important part of any product which is going to be built. So design and architecture, if it is not even there, you will not be able to start building your application. So this is very much required. But again, there's no specific phase for it. That is the reason most of the people say that design and architecture is a thing which we are going to ignore in Agile. That's not true. Now, having heard about all these kind of agile, so do Agile really work? This is one of the most common questions which most of the people ask when they are transforming from waterfall to Agile. Or if they are not asking, they should ask this question: that is Agile really going to work for me or not? So there's a survey which has been performed, and with that survey, it was found out that the failure rate of Agile compared to waterfall is only 9%. So it is, from the survey, it was found out that we cannot say that Agile can work for you 100%. That's not the case. There are cases where Agile has failed. Bunch of reasons. Maybe it was not implemented correctly. It was not the Agile principles were not followed. The manifestos were not followed. There are a bunch of reasons, but still 9% of the case were there where Agile got failed. But apart from that, we have a good amount of success rate as well, which is 42% in Agile compared to only 14% in waterfall. And waterfall has a failure percentage of 29%, which is very huge. If you are counting to the software projects which are available, so 29% is a huge percentage. Now there are many other we can say tools which have contributed to Agile. So first of them is lean principles. So some of the lean principles which Agile has adopted or which has been contributed is eliminating waste, amplifying learning, decide as late as possible, delivering as fast as possible, empowering the team, building integrity, and seeing the whole, seeing the sky as a whole, probably seeing the complete picture. Then Kanban came into existence. Kanban gave some of the contributions, like it visualized what you have to do today. So there's a workflow in it. Then there's a limit of amount of work which can be taken on so we WIP. Then it enhances the complete workflow. So there are a bunch of stuff which has been contributed to Agile. Then we have extreme programming practices, where from where it was taken, the kind of communication which you need to do. You need to simplify your complete process. You need to keep on getting feedback from your customers. You should have the courage of taking risk, and you should have respect for your other team members and also the client. If he's saying something, you need to acknowledge. You need to respect that. It's not that you can bluntly say no to whatever the client is saying. In that case, in most of the cases, what happens is if you are bluntly saying no to each and everything, the client will feel that, okay, this team is of no use for me. They don't even listen to me. That they keep on saying whatever I say to them, whatever I ask them. So there's no point, in working with them further. So these are some of the contributions which has been given to Agile. Now, before I move on to Scrum, is there any questions which you want to ask, or is there any doubt regarding Agile which you want to ask? You can go ahead. I can take some few of the questions if they are available, and then we'll move on to Scrum. Any specific questions? Any doubts? Difference between Kanban and Agile and Scrum. Okay, so Agile. That's good to move on. That's fine. Okay, so I have a question from Dhananshri Nair. Difference between Kanban and Agile. Okay, so Agile, as I said, it's an iterative process of working on your projects. Scrum and Kanban, these are the two add-ons which completely fits with your, you can say, Agile. So Scrum, when you add your Scrum to Agile, what it simply does is it adds more time boxing to it. Your iterations can be Scrum will be covered in more details a few minutes from now, and I'll explain what Kanban is all about. So Kanban is a visualization board. Just show you. So this is a sort of Kanban board. If you can see the screen, I've just highlighted it. This is a Kanban board, and on this board, what you usually do is, you create different columns. Maybe you can say one column for analyze, one column for design, one for maybe questions, and then we have test, then we have build, and then we have deploy. In between, we can have one development also. So all these columns totally depends upon the kind of workflow which you want to have in your project. And before this analyze, maybe we can have a column where you are going to add all your features. We can simply say it as a backlog, and all your tasks would be written there. And the only difference between Kanban and so Scrum board will also look something like this itself. What you need to understand is the basic difference between Kanban and Scrum. So Kanban, whenever you list all your tasks, it does not have any user assigned to it. The moment it's the team who needs to pick, depending upon what your work in progress limit is all about. So work in progress limit is the maximum number of tasks which a developer can take or work on at a given point of time. So maybe if you have set up your work in progress limit as one only, so a developer can work on one particular task at one point of time. So what he'll do is he'll pick one task from the backlog item and assign it to himself. In Scrum, what happens is your backlog is completely assigned to each of your developers depending upon the iterations which you have. If it is a 1 week iteration, and 1 week iteration usually it is 40 hours. So the task equivalent to 40 hours will be assigned, will already be assigned to the particular developer. So this is the way Agile and Scrum works. Okay, I hope Dhananshri you are fine with this. Move on to another question. Will you explain the rules available? Yes, it is coming. Naveen, it is coming the next the next slides. In case of self-organized structure, how do team coordinate and make sure one is on track? Okay, so there are a bunch of matrices which are available through which the team will always be coordinating with each other, since they will be locating they'll be sitting with each other. If the team is maybe they are located at different locations or maybe different countries itself. So in that case, there are a bunch of tools which are available. There is a Jira which is there. Then we have Pivotal Tracker which is there. So all your tasks are listed there. All everything is assigned there. So each and every team member would be able to see that what the other team members are doing. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Principle simplicity. Okay. Simplicity principles. So take it this way. So simplicity means whatever work which you are trying to do, you need to make it as simple as possible. Or maybe uh, you can say that usually what people do is they try to complex their processes on which they are working. I'll be uh, getting things as simple as possible, not to complicate the stuff which is there. And this is usually required because first of all, most people are not even aware of agile principles. I've seen in most of the cases people say that they are using agile, but they are actually following the waterfall model itself. So in those cases, we need to make sure that what all work, what all processes, what all tools which we are going to use in agile, we need to make sure that we are simplifying each and every thing as much as possible. This question was asked by, how do I pronounce this name? Usha Sri. Okay. I hope your question is answered. So, okay, I'm moving ahead, and probably if you still have any questions or queries, you can keep on posting in the chat window. We'll take it at the end of the session. Now, okay, so we have already heard about Scrum. Sorry, Agile. The next is Scrum, which is an Agile perspective. Now, Scrum is a word which has been taken from rugby. So I guess most of the people are already aware about what rugby is. It's a game where we have two sets of team, and what you need to do is you need to you know the simplest part is you need to just chase down that ball, and there's a goal in it, and you need to go and put that ball there, and you get points for it. So this Scrum word has been derived from rugby itself. Now, this is a small overview of what a Scrum will look like. So the first thing which we usually get is the vision. From the vision, what we usually do is we make a product backlog. Now, backlog is the bunch of features which we are trying to build in the product. After that, product backlog is all the features which will be added to the product. From that, we extract a sprint backlog. So sprint backlog is the set of features which will be delivered in an iteration, and from that sprint backlog, based on the kind of iteration which is there, be it 1 week or 4 weeks, and after that, at the end of that sprint backlog, or maybe at the end of that iteration, you get an increment. So increment in Scrum is a working software which in future will complete into a product. And once you deliver your increment, after that a sprint review happens. And sprint review is basically these are some of the technical words which are there in Scrum. And so it's the ceremony in Scrum where you usually see whatever you have, your client actually reviews your work which you have delivered, and he either accepts or rejects that. So there are both possibilities are there. And these increments, maybe if it is 6 month project, after all your increments, we get to find your final product is built. And when the final product is built, we go back to the product backlog to see if there's anything which is remaining, which we can work on. And if that backlog is zero, we are ready to release to the market or maybe to the client. Now, what is Scrum? So Scrum is an empirical process. Now, this word empirical denotes information which is gained by means of observation, experience, or experiment. So, whenever you are transforming from, say, waterfall to Agile Scrum, your first or two iterations would be a kind of, experiment kind of thing, because you still don't know how much what kind of iterations you need to run, which will be best suited for your need. It could be a 2 week, it could be 1 week, it could be 4 weeks. So in Scrum, 4 weeks is the maximum iteration which you need to run. If it is going beyond 4 weeks, you need to sit back and see whether your project is fit for Scrum or not. And it constitutes a continuous cycle of inspecting the process for correct operation and results, and adapting the process as needed. So Scrum is it's a continuous cycle which keeps on going on, and there are three factors on which, or maybe three legs, you can say, which using which you actually try to see whether this is the best suited for your project or not. First is transparency. Transparency means outcome must be visible to those who are controlling your project, or maybe in this case, maybe the client. Inspection, various aspects must be inspected frequently, like how how things are going on. Next is adaptation. You should be because you are switching from a waterfall model to Scrum, you need to be able to adopt to things. It's not that you are not going to adopt each and everything, and then you say that I'm following Agile Scrum. That's not possible. You actually be ready to adopt things, but it should only be adopted if it is inside your acceptable limits. Otherwise, it is not. It is never recommended to adopt things. So adaptation is required, but you need to make sure that it is within your acceptable limits. So these are the three legs which is there for empirical process control. Now we usually start with a sprint zero. So here with Scrum, the iterations word which was there with Agile, this gets converted into sprint. So we usually start with sprint zero, where you do all your project chapter, you create your product backlog, you create your Scrum team, you create your basic architecture, you create your high level schedule, and then you create your high level business case. So all these kind of design and analysis phase, which used to be a different phase in traditional model, in Scrum, all these gets combined, and the first iteration which gets started, it is known as sprint zero. And this sprint zero is very very essential to work on, and you can extend this to 4 weeks as well, to make sure that all your planning is good, you have the right skill set in the team available, you have your architecture ready, you have your product backlog ready to start, and your requirements are very clear. Then only you will be able to proceed further. Otherwise, again, the waterfall model will come into picture, and you will in most of the cases the project gets failed. Now, the moment a sprint starts, so this is not required in sprint zero. This will be from the sprint one. So no changes are required during a sprint. The reason why I say this, because if you are keep on adding things to your current sprint, you will never be able to deliver things inside the time frame which has been set, or inside a particular sprint, maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks max. So if you, it's not that we don't accommodate those changes. That depends upon the, the kind of change which is required for it. So we usually take only those changes, but then too, it is advisable not to, once a sprint has started, never, it is never advised to change anything in that particular sprint. Now, there are cases where a sprint can be cancelled. So it can be cancelled before the time. There are a bunch of reasons. Some of them are listed here. Maybe the technology has completely changed. The technology on which the product was working, so that technology got changed. The sprint is known. The sprint is maybe no longer it makes sense. It is not going to add any value to the client. So in that case also, the sprint gets cancelled. The team forecasts that it cannot deliver any valuable output due to n number of impediments. Maybe there are technical challenges, maybe the requirements is not clear, or maybe the thing which you are trying to build is, we are not able to predict only, how much more time it is required. So in that case also, the sprint gets cancelled. And the most important thing, only the product owner is authorized to take this decision. Based on the Scrum team can only provide their recommendations. The Scrum team cannot say that, we are going to cancel this particular sprint. That is, they are not authorized to do that. It is only the product owner's decision to cancel a particular sprint. Now there are various Scrum roles we are going to discuss. First is product owner, then we have Scrum Master, then we have the Scrum team, and then we have the stakeholders and users. So we taking one by one. First is product owner. He is the one who defines the feature of the product. He decides on the release date, release date and content. He is the one who is responsible for the profitability of the product, the return of investment. He actually prioritizes the features according to market value and adjusts the features and priority at every iteration as and when needed. And he can either accept or reject your work. So whatever work which you are going to do, so it is product owner who actually decides the kind of features on which you are going to work, the kind of task on which you are going to work, what is the priority of them, and then finally when you deliver those stuff, it is product owner who has to see whether it is in line with the business use case which he was trying to get it from. If it is there, then he will accept it, otherwise he will simply reject it, and then the Scrum team needs to work on it again. Okay, there's one question. Is Scrum a subset of Agile process? You can say it's a subset of Agile process, but we usually say Agile with Scrum because Scrum gets it's the best fit with Agile. But again, having said that, it totally depends upon the kind of industry you're working on, because Kanban is also one an alternative of Scrum, and that can also be used along with it. But yes, Kanban comes with a lot of different things. So there are different kind of roles which are there in Kanban. But Scrum is the best fit with Agile. Next is Scrum Master. So he is the one who represents the management to the project. He is responsible for enacting Scrum values and practices. So actually, Scrum Master is the one who is actually maybe either he is certified in this case, or maybe he has obtained training for Scrum. So his main roles and responsibility would be to implement the Scrum values into the team, make sure that the team is the team becomes self-organizing, ensure that the team is fully functional and productive. So and also he needs to make sure that there is no there's no external interference which is there, which is kind of hindering the process of the team. So all sorts of Scrum related work, he is the person who is responsible for that. He may be a part of, he may be technical, he may be non-technical. That's also one case. In today's industry, most of the companies are doing, they are picking one person from the technical team itself and providing him or her the required training and the required certification, and then he or she acts as a Scrum Master in that particular team. That's also possible. Then we have the Scrum team. So Scrum team, it usually consists of 3 to 9 people. They are cross-functional. So we don't say that my team has a dedicated QA, dedicated developer, dedicated UI designer. That's not the case. We have cross-functional teams. A developer can do a QA work, a QA can do a developer work, a normal developer can do a UI work and all. So it's a cross-functional team. And the members should be full-time. It's not that some of the members are working just for a few hours. That is never recommended in a Scrum team. The Scrum team should be available for full-time, and the team should be self-organizing. There is actually no title which is required in a Scrum team. So as I said earlier, all these titles are usually required for your salaries and all, but it is not required. The Scrum does not say that the Scrum team should have any titles, but they should have some responsibilities on them. And the membership can change between between sprints. Maybe you can say that you can switch your Scrum Masters. You can have one Scrum Master per sprint, and that way the complete team would be able to at least understand what kind of role a Scrum team has. So that also can be done. Next is Scrum artifacts. So the first artifact is product backlog. Product backlog is the items which these product backlog items can be user stories, it can be features, it can be bugs, it can be any kind of thing, but they are all up. If you try to understand this, you can simply say that it's a place where all your product related stories, features or bugs are listed, and all of these listings are based, they have been sorted according to the priority of that particular topic, or maybe user stories or features or bugs. And the estimate is always there. The estimate can be in hours if it is a task. It can be so there are various kind of estimation techniques which are there. It will be covered in future slides. So all those kind of estimations is always there against that particular maybe story, feature or bug. And so this is a very basic example of how a product backlog would look like. Maybe you have a feature F, its priority is 1. So for this priority 1, which it says extra high, then we have feature H, it is also 1 extra high. Then we have feature D, which is priority 1 and then high, estimate is high. Feature C, we can say priority is 2, but it estimate is extra high. Then we have feature E, which is priority 2 and the estimate is high. So so this is the way your product backlog would look like. Then we have the product backlog vision. So the moment you create your product backlog, it should have a vision to it. Why that product backlog is there, for whom it is there, and what are the different different listings are there in that product backlog. Then it should make the vision implementable. It's not that whatever we have put in this product backlog, people are not even able to implement that. So in that case, this product backlog is of no use for the development team. So when the product backlog, when the product owner is actually preparing this product backlog, he always ensures that whatever features or bugs which are listed there, it should actually be implementable. Then various characteristics of a product backlog. It should be visible, it should be estimated, it should be prioritized, it should have appropriate detail in it, and it should be emergent. It's not that, you know, you have 10 features, and when you read those 10 features, you come to know that what exactly is going to add to this product. So in that case, the product backlog again is of no use. If it is, you're not going to add anything to the product. Your estimate is not correct, or maybe the items which are there in product backlog, they are not even able. Nobody is even able to estimate that. So that again, that kind of product backlog is of no use. So we need to make sure that our product backlog actually covers all these characteristics. Then in Agile and Scrum both, we usually say that we actually groom collaboratively. So we have a product owner, we have a development team, and we work together. And then we build a working software, we deliver it to the client, and what product owner does is it takes that product to the market. In the market, the end customers start using it. They provide their feedback, and as per their feedback, the development team sits back, make the respective changes, again gives back to the product owner. The product owner takes it back to the customer again, and asks the feedback from him. So it's kind of a collaborative effort where you try to groom yourself with the help of everyone who are there. Now we have sprint backlog. So after product backlog, we have sprint backlog. So sprint backlog is actually a subset of a product backlog. So product backlog actually defines your complete product, whereas a sprint backlog, it actually defines the work for a particular sprint for which that backlog has been created, and it is only created by the team members. Product backlog by product owner, sprint backlog by Scrum team. Each item has its own status, and the status should be updated every day. And if it is able to be completed in 8 hours, if it is not, then you can leave it. The next day when you come, you'll simply see that, okay, my tasks are still pending. I need to complete it as soon as possible. So a sprint backlog, relevant to a particular sprint, created only by team members. So product owner does not have any role in getting this sprint backlog ready. The changes for it, the team adds new tasks whenever they need to in order to meet the sprint goal. They can remove unnecessary tasks, so they don't need to go back to product owner. But it is always advisable, if you are making any change to the existing sprint, you need to first collaborate with your product owner to make sure that whatever you are trying to do, it's in line with the sprint goal which you need to achieve. And but sprint backlog, it can only be updated by the Scrum team. So again, the product owner will not be responsible for updating the sprint backlog. It is the team who has to update the sprint backlog. Estimates are updated whenever there are new information. So if this is a part of the current sprint, and you feel that, okay, some new information has come which is going to hinder the estimate of this particular sprint. So what you need to make sure is that first of all, you need to change that estimate, and you need to let product owner know that, okay, the estimate has changed. Now this task which was earlier 10 hours, it is going to take 15 hours now. Next comes the increments. Now increment is something which is a sum of all product backlog items completed during a sprint and all previous sprint. Maybe if you are talking about one single sprint, so all the product backlog items which were there in a particular sprint and they have been completed, so that set of tasks or a sum of all those tasks is collectively called an increment. And this increment is always necessary because we talk about working software in Agile and Scrum. So in the next point, it says that at the end of a sprint, increment must be done according to the team's definition of done. So definition of done may be like if we are going to work on 10 different tasks or 10 different features. So the definition of done may be that we need to complete a development. The testing also should be done. So all these stuff should be available. Should be your increment should be in line with the definition of done of the particular Scrum team. The most important part now, the increment must be in a usable condition. Now it's not that you have given an increment, but the workings or the software which you have generated after working, getting this increment done, it's not even usable. The end customer is not able to use it, so there's no point in delivering that increment to the product owner or the end client also. So this is how your increment looks like. We have a product backlog. From the product backlog, we create a sprint backlog. After sprint backlog, we create our own iterations or sprints, and the result of this sprint becomes your potentially shippable product or a working increment of the software which you are trying to make. Now we have different Scrum meetings. First is release planning. So release planning it's a high level roadmap that forecasts when we will do what. Maybe you can say that I'm going to release my version 1 after 4 iterations. So that 4 iterations maybe because initially your first 2 iterations are always experimental. You need to make sure whether it is which kind of sprint is suiting you. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week. Ideally it is 2 weeks. Maximum it is 4 weeks. You cannot go beyond 4 weeks in Scrum. That is never advisable. So a release planning, it gives you a very high level roadmap. At least the higher management, the customer knows that okay, after 4 weeks I'll be getting, or maybe after 2 weeks I'll be getting some kind of a working software. This is owned by product owner. So these are stuff which are very important to know. The release planning is owned by product owner. There are some rules for each of these meetings. The rules are only the product owner can prioritize the backlog. Dependencies are offered by the team and they must be considered. Velocity, it is the average output per sprint. Maybe average output means the average number of features or tasks which you are delivering on time to time. So we take an average and that is the velocity, and it is required to know how much to forecast for future sprints. So this release planning overall it's a kind of a very high level roadmap which is created. And then after rules we have some best practices, like it should be very realistic. So having said that this is a very high level roadmap, we also need to make sure that it should be very similar to some realistic figures. And after each and every sprint, this should be updated. This is very important. The release planning, it should be updated every after each and every sprint to make sure that you are actually approaching towards the roadmap, the high level roadmap which you have created. Next is sprint planning. The purpose of sprint planning is to determine how much work can be accomplished in the upcoming sprint. The outputs are the commitments of several features, stories, and the sprint backlog. So the moment you complete your sprint planning, your sprint backlog gets created. All your tasks are listed there for which you need to complete for this particular iteration. The kind of all your developers have been assigned a task, and you need to start working on it. There are some rules again for the sprint planning. The product owner must come prepared and clearly define prioritized backlog items. He actually has the authority over the priorities for the next sprint, and team has the authority over the amount of work that can be done. So these are two different points. One is the product owner has the authority over the priorities for the next sprint, and the team has authority over the amount of work that can be accomplished during the next sprint. Next, we have team must take a commitment before the end of a meeting. So this commitment can be that whatever task which they have taken up, they are going to complete it at the end of this particular sprint. So the sprint planning is actually divided into two halves. In the first half, the product owner briefs the team whatever what are the priorities which needs to be worked on, and in the second half, the team actually decomposes the commitments into a sprint backlog. So in the first half, it is owned by a product owner. In the second half, the team actually sits down and see what all the priorities which have been listed, and accordingly they create their sprint backlog. Then we have deferred task assignments. So many teams spend too much effort in pre-assigning sprint backlog, and this is never required. Always make sure that whenever you don't pre-plan a lot of stuff, because meetings are already there in Scrum. There are defined meetings which are there, so you don't even need to pre-plan stuff. And the reason why I say this, because I've seen many teams who sits hours and hours just pre-planning stuff for sprint plannings. That is not required in this case. Then we have defer unknown details like sprint backlog. It's a living work plan. So 30 or 40% can change over the course of sprint. So that is again adopting to that particular the change which is required. Then we have the sprint review. So sprint review is a meeting to demonstrate the work completed by the team during a sprint, and the output of this sprint is the product owner's approval or rejection, and also he provides the feedback for the kind of work which has been completed. Now there are some ground rules. The product owner must base his approval or rejection on the acceptance criteria which he has already drafted in the in all the commitment which is there. The team gives the demonstration, not the Scrum Master. This is very important. The Scrum Master is not responsible for demonstrating the work which has been done. The team is held collectively accountable for failed commitments. So you will not blame. So there is no blame game which happens here. It's it's the team responsibility. If they are failing as a team. If they are successing, the success is because of the complete team. Next, we have the retrospective. So the purpose of this retrospective is to reflect on what went well and what did not. So we actually try to retrospect what we whatever we have accomplished, or were there any impediments, were there any all kinds of problems, all kinds of good points are actually discussed during this retrospective meeting. The output is list of steps to be taken for making the next sprint more enjoyable and more productive. So this sprint is also one of the most this meeting is also one of the most important things. So there are very important rules which are there. There's no blame game which should be there. There's no finger pointing should be there. Like that person was took too long on that on one particular feature. Because of that, there was a chaos situation. That is not the kind of thing which needs to be discussed. We can discuss that, but finger pointing should not be there. And everybody should contribute to this. It's not that only few people are contributing. Each and every member of that team should contribute to this this particular meeting. So there are various techniques. You can have a whiteboard. You can do some dot voting. You can brainstorm that. You can create a timeline and a team radar. So there are various techniques of doing sprint retrospective. Then we have the most important meeting in Scrum, which is the daily Scrum meeting. The goal is to share your progress and hear others' progress. And the most important thing, it has time box to 15 minutes. And in this Scrum meeting, you just need to say that whatever, what you did yesterday, what you are going to do today, that's it. And is there any blockage? These are the three things which only needs to be discussed. Apart from that, there's no need to discuss anything. And this Scrum meeting is only attended by the Scrum Master in the team. There is no other member which is required here. Now, requirements management. So the high level is actually the theme, and then we have the medium level, which you can say the features. Then we have the small, which we can say the stories. Then we have the detail, like the task. So we actually come from highest level to the lowest level available. Then we have the user stories. So user stories is like you can say that as a role, I want to do something so that I get a benefit. So this is a standard way of writing a good user story. There are 3 C's which are available. First is card. So the story information should be very lightweight. It should not that you are adding a bunch of information in that. That is also not recommended. Then we have it should be in a sort of conversation that you are trying to explain that stuff to somebody. So third is confirmation, like your acceptance criteria should be listed there. Now we have invest model. So all your user stories should be independent, it should be negotiable, it should be valuable, it should be estimable, it should be small, and it should be testable. So this invest model is very important for all your user stories. It should not that you created a user stories and there's a dependency on another user story. There's no point on creating that two different user stories. You can simply create one user story for it, and in that user story only you can create different kinds of features. Then writing a good user story, it should start with a goal, like maybe for a monster.com the user's goal is to find a job. Then it should be search for job based on skill, location, and all. Then display of resumes, and then you are easily applying for a job. So this is the way of writing a good user story. Now, why a user story smells? First of all, it is an interdependent story. Again, not recommended. Too many details. Invest model is not even able, not being followed. And thinking too far, which is a very waterfall method. So that is also not required. Acceptance criteria. So these are set of statements which say that okay, if I've just created one feature, so that feature should what all are my acceptance criteria for it. Basically what all are the cases in which I say that I'm going to pass or fail this particular story. So all those are listed in points. Then we have some definition of done. So it defines the acceptance criteria for a user story. It states the deliverables that are that each product backlog item has. Your definition of done is it applies to all stories, and it is set by product owner in discussion with the Scrum team. It should be clear and self-explanatory. It should there should be separate DoD for story, sprint, and release. So every story, stories, sprint, and release, they have their own separate definition of done. Then we have the epics. So epics, actually, it is the largest form of user story available, or you can say it's a theme, which is collection of related user stories. And so this is the hierarchy which is followed: epic, feature, story, and task. So from features to task, we usually start from epic. Epic is converted into features. Features is converted into stories, and stories is converted into task. So this is the hierarchy which is followed. Now, prioritization and estimations. So, how do we prioritize in Agile and Scrum? One is the informal way, it is very ad hoc. Second is the Moscow, the most common thing. The must have, should have, could have, and would not have. So at the moment we try to estimate anything, first we say what are the must haves of that particular story or a feature or a task, what are the should have, what are the could have, and what would not have. And then we have a formal method where we simply say priority is based on business value by complexity. So this is some formula involved. But in Agile Scrum, we usually follow the Moscow model, which is the most commonly used prioritization method available. Then we have the estimation method. So estimation, you can estimate in t-shirt sizing. You can estimate, you can apply story points. But in t-shirt sizing, the biggest disadvantage is that, size versus time comparison is very difficult. So if I say my story is L size, so that does not define any time limit in it. So this is very, so the disadvantage is like that. For story points, it is in a Fibonacci series like 1, 2, 3, 8, 4, in that it's in a Fibonacci series 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and it's a relative data. So that is the reason we say that if it is a relative data, we usually use this story points. The advantage is accuracy. We always depend on consistency rather than accuracy, and the disadvantage is that it's team specific values and may not have any meanings or for others. So any doubts or queries still here? Anything? Then we have this cone of uncertainty. This is again for estimation only. So we started from above. We say that it's t-shirt sizing. Then t-shirt sizing can be small, can be medium, can be large. And then we have story points, and then after story points we have all your tasks listed there, which is converted into number of hours. Just hold on. Okay, guys, just post on your questions. We'll take a quick 5 minutes break, and once I'm back, I'll take that questions.
If anybody has any question, you can write under chat panel or question panel, and your questions will get answered within 5 minutes. Guys, if you have any question or any doubts, you can write under question panel or chat panel. Your question will get answered within 5 minutes. Thank you for being online.
Okay. Questions. What type of matrices will be used in Agile? Okay. The matrices I'm already discussing. Who is responsible for writing user stories? It is a product owner. In earlier slide, advantage of story points estimation is not clear. Okay. Which slide are you referring to? Okay. The next is, I'm sure we will receive the recorded version. Yes, you will be receiving the recorded version. Apart from that, okay. Next comes the by the time that question the reply comes and proceeding further. The next is the velocity chart. So this velocity chart on the projection which comes based on the velocity. Now velocity, as I said earlier, it's the average number of tasks or features which you are delivering per sprint. So we usually take an average of it, and based on that average we build this velocity chart. Next is, what are the key success factors? Now the success factors for your Agile and Scrum is, first thing, that you need to look at the bigger picture rather than looking at a very constrained in a very small picture. You need to use the whole team approach rather than individual approach. You need to adopt your agile testing mindset. You need to automate all your regression testing. You need to provide and obtain feedback as much as possible. You need to collaborate your customer, and you need to build a foundation of core agile practices. So overall, the key factors means that you need to follow the agile principles as much as possible to make sure that you are success. This answer has come. Okay. Earlier earlier slide. Okay, 1 second. Let me check which earlier slide. Is this the advantage of estimation you are talking about? I guess. Or maybe what I'll do is, okay. So in estimation, there are basically two types of estimation which are available. First is the t-shirt sizing. So t-shirt sizing is based on, so everybody knows that it's small, it's large, extra large, and all. So whenever we are estimating in t-shirt sizing, first the biggest advantage is this, that it is very easy to grasp because everybody does shopping, everybody knows what kind of clothes they are wearing. And but the biggest disadvantage which t-shirt sizing has is that, if you say that a particular feature is of L size. Now, when you say L size, how are you going to compare this L size with time? That comparison becomes very difficult. So that is the reason this is, we usually don't use t-shirt sizing as an estimation. We use story points. So story points is, it is proposed in a Fibonacci series. So Mike Kohn is the person who has formulated this Fibonacci series 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Not this Fibonacci series. He has formulated the story points estimation for Agile and Scrum. And since this is the relative data, so what we usually do is, first we take first story and estimate it. And once that estimation is done, what we usually do is we take that as a base and do all our rest estimation based on that only. So since this being the relative data, we are actually getting this to an extent that this will be consistent. The variance will not be much. And again, story point has its own disadvantage as well. So it's team specific values, and maybe if you give the same estimation to two different teams, you'll find that team A has some other base on which they have estimated, and team B can have other base. So every estimation thing has its own advantages and disadvantages, but we mostly prefer or recommend using only the story points. I hope your query is answered. Moving ahead. And yeah, so in key success factors, so whole team approach. Why we say whole team approach? Because we want the team committed to testing and quality as well. We should have daily collaborations. The testers get support and training. Anyone can do any task, or maybe if there is a sprint in which there is no development task, only testing task is there, so the developers can switch gears from development to testing to make sure that the work is not affected. That is the reason we say that we have cross-functional and self-organizing teams. And then the testers transfer their knowledge to the developers to make sure that whatever the testing which the developers are doing, at least they know how the testing is done. And lastly, get the right people, get the right skilled people in the team to make sure that the things are moving in the right direction. Okay, burn down chart. It is coming. Now it's a small summary of how this is going to help. You need to have your whole team working together. You need to have a mindset change that from individual to the team. We should automate all your regression testing. We should have you should follow core agile practices. You should always provide feedback. You should always focus on customer collaboration, and you should always see the bigger picture rather than seeing the smaller one. Then we have the various tracking mechanism so first is the burn down chart. So burn down chart is a chart where you will be visualizing how much work is remaining in a time box. And in doing this, you are actually answering the question, how are we doing? So we usually say that, okay, we started from 60 features. Since we delivered 10 features in this particular sprint, so my work remaining is 50. So this is how the burn down chart is formulated. This is owned by the Scrum team, and the rules are this is based on the backlog data. The release burn down chart for product backlog items, it is the remaining in the release. So the burn down charts are two types. One is release burn down chart, second is sprint burn down chart. Release burn down chart is for the product backlog items which are remaining in the release, and sprint burn down chart is for sprint backlog items which are remaining in a sprint. This is updated often to make sure that your progress is reflected. And the best practices is to focus on trends rather than bands. So you need to always focus on the trends which is being followed, like how many task is being delivered rather than what value is being delivered. So in terms of chart, you need to always focus on the trends rather than values. So burn down chart, this is how burn down chart looks like. It will always start from the number of tasks which is left, and it may increase, it may decrease depending upon, because usually there are few tasks or features which keeps on getting added to the backlog item. So so the moment your graph goes up, it means that there is new addition to your backlog item, and if it goes down, then you need to simply say that you are ultimately, the goal is to get this graph down to 0. This is the ultimate goal, and the moment it is down to 0, it means all your backlog items have been 0, and all your backlog items are converted into features, and your working software is ready. Then this is how your sprint burn down chart looks like. On your y-axis, it has task hours remaining, and on your y, you have your on your y, you have your days, the number of days which are there in your sprint. So the moment your hours goes, keeps it may increase, it may decrease depending upon how you are progressing. And this is an example of this is a live example which I've put in here, one of my projects. So the reason why you are seeing 2-3 lines is because for one is ideal line. So this is the ideal line which started from somewhere between 55 and it comes down to 10. This is the ideal line, and the blue line is your ideal variation. The violet line is you can say this is the deviation which is happening because or maybe you can consider this your first iteration, your second iteration, and your third iteration. So line 1 is your first iteration. This is way ahead. Line 2 is your second iteration, which got somewhere you were distracted, but then you came back to line. And line 3 is your third iteration, which is the best iteration, and things were very close to getting to the ideal line, which is the best case. So that is the reason I said in during my earlier thing that your first 2 sprints would be kind of experimental sprint, that you will be experimenting things, that how things are going to happen, how things are going to progress. Next, we have the release burn down chart. So on your x-axis, you will have sprints in release, and on your y-axis, you will have story units remaining or story points remaining. and based on this, the difference would be your velocity, the average velocity which you are delivering. Next, we have release burn up chart. So this is just opposite to what burn down chart is all about. It starts from 0 and it goes to the maximum level. So like your burn down chart, it starts from the number of items remaining, and it goes to 0. So here it starts from 0, that I'm going to start my work, and it goes to the number of items which are there in your backlog. So blue line is total, red line is completed. Based on each iteration, we plot this particular graph. Next, we have the matrices. So the minimum number of matrices that will provide all necessary information to meet business goals. We measure the outcomes rather than the outputs. We always measure results. We always measure the work items which are completed and access the trends which are there, not the snapshots. And we frequently provide the feedback on regular intervals, which is very necessary. And matrices should be it should be easy to collect. Now the various matrices are sprint burn down chart. We just saw that. Then we have release burn up chart. We have velocity. We have average time to market. So sprint burn down is it is applicable for a sprint and a release. Release burn up is applicable to a release. Then we have a velocity, which I said is the average number of tasks which gets delivered during a sprint. So again, this is applicable to a sprint only. Then we have average time to market. Now this is the average time between the product owner asking for a user story from the product backlog is implemented and the user story being deployed to production. Now the total time between them, the time between the user story being created and the same being deployed to the production. Now the difference between these two times is the average time to the market. And this is applicable to three, like it is applicable to release, project, and program as well. Next, we have some Scrum benefits. So for benefits for the team, they get focused. They know what is the common goal. They create self-discipline. They are accountable for each and everything. They are responsible. The communication is better without any barriers because you're directly interacting with the customer. There's no manager subordinate relationship. It's a very flat architecture. There's teamwork. There's no individual thing which is there. Risk management and risk management is there, which is applicable to whole team. It's not that only one is responsible for it. There's no individual failure. If there's a failure, it's a team failure, and there's no individual success as well. It's a team success. So there's no man of the match available in Scrum. Next, we have stakeholders. So for stakeholders, they have a higher visibility. They are, able to respond and adapt as well. Real software code is, it is available very early in the phase. And we have a better evaluation, testing, and demonstration purposes as well. And for the business, the ROI, the business value is the ultimate important thing, so that it gets from Scrum. Now, after that, there's a bunch of agile tools which are available, which you can use. One of the most important thing is Jira. Then we have Greenhopper. Then we have version 1. We have Agile Zen. We have Lean Kit, which is from Kanban. We have Redmine. We have Visual Studio TFS. We have Pivotal Tracker. So there are a bunch of agile tools which are available in the market today, which you can use. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, some of them are free to try. So they are. It depends upon the kind of things which are available. Now these are some of the cool tools which you can use in your day-to-day projects, like planningpoker.com. So it's a website where you can play your planning poker game. So planning poker is usually used for estimations where you get cards which have Fibonacci series available there, and the moment one of the team member will read out a story, and based on that story you will each and every team team member will say that for me it's story point one, somebody will say five, somebody will say three, and what all differences are there, everyone explains what why they feel that it is one for him or her, it is five for different. So and then the team comes out with a common conclusion that okay, uh, after hearing everyone, the team says that this particular story should go with story point three. So planning poker is that game, and then we have some sticky notes available with uh, mural.ly. Then we have scribbler.com, it's online whiteboard. So these are some of the tools which you can use. Now we have some bunch of certifications available, so it's for those who want to go for some certifications. So you can. The most common certification is Certified Scrum Master. You get it from Scrum Alliance. There are many companies in the market who will train you and get you certified. And so this it's a three-level certification. Usually, uh, the normal people will get to CSP. After that, it's quite difficult. You need to travel abroad and all. And so the details are here. There are different certification in Agile, like we have CSM, CSV, and then we have PMI ACP for those people who are into project management. For them, PMI ACP is the best thing. And yes, so that's it. Time for Q&A. Type in all your questions, queries, doubts, what all is there. Okay, one question is there. Talks on DevOps taking over Agile. Can you put some point on DevOps? Is it related to same as Agile? Okay, so DevOps is actually a term which is a combination of a developer plus probably an operation person, a person who also looks at all your servers and or all your automation stuff and all, apart from being a developer. So there's nothing that DevOps is actually taking over Agile. It's completely different thing. Agile is just a process. DevOps is you can say it's a new role which has come up, and DevOps also actually fits well with Agile. They also follow Agile methodologies as well. So there's nothing that DevOps is actually taking over Agile. That's not true. For PMI ACP, is it mandatory for 1500 hours for agile experience? Yes, Sivraj, this is mandatory for PMI ACP. You need to have 1500 hours of agile experience. Without that, you will not be able to appear for that exam, which is there for PMI ACP. Okay, how we can obtain that? All right. So for this, there are many training of training institutions available in the market. You can contact them directly, or you can get back to us, and we'll help you in that.
Thank you, Janmay, for such a nice session. Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar on Agile. Your participation was important to us. We will be coming up with number of other webinars that are capsule courses on various topics on which we will keep you updated. If anyone has any question or any query, you can write us at livesessions@aurelius.in. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your time.